So it's a good one this week.
Yeah. It's half good. And by good, I mean passable.
Well, no, one of them did remind me how much I enjoy watching Lord of the Rings.
Oh, because Miranda Otto's in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Yes. It's going to be an interesting one this episode. We are talking about, as you can see from the title, well, it's not actually that clear, I suppose.
No, I have... What I have been thinking is maybe...
we just put the title.
Yeah, because it is very obvious when
you can
why
see
some
our spreadsheet.
And also then why some things do better than others.
Yeah.
Downloads wise.
It's good that it's taken us 9 series to come up to that, with that conclusion.
Well, it's just now we've got metrics. But maybe I'll put these titles in the just in the episode notes instead of what's normally the show's titles.
Yeah. Right, so we got Saint X and The Clearing. And I seem to remember at the end of the recording of the last episode we did, I said, "Oh, I look forward to the ones where I don't know anything about the shows." And
are you rethinking that?
I watched Saint X and I thought, I wish I still didn't know anything about it.
The thing, I feel like Saint X had promise. Because it was not until halfway through that I realised that she is not the grown-up older girl. She is grown-up babby girl. Which might show how much attention I was paying.
It took me a little minute as well, but that is something we are going to return to in The Clearing. That sort of assuming you're looking at a past version of the wrong character.
Yeah, which is good. The Clearing did it better.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Because I don't think Saint X ever tried to hide it. We're just stupid.
Just to sort of prove a point as to how little I actually really enjoyed Saint X, and I imagine because our opinions generally on TV shows are quite aligned. Can you tell me what happens in Saint X?
Someone was floating in the water at the beginning. I'm assuming misadventure. And then it goes on to be like, don't go to the Caribbean, something bad will happen to you, and it's probably the locals. That's what I took from Saint X.
Yeah.
And there'll be an old guy who calls you a cunt for no reason.
Yeah, that was just out of nowhere, wasn't it? But
yeah, but I think he did it. And the annoying thing is, I want to know.
I don't want to know that badly. I'm quite happy for that to be... Yeah, that's a mystery that will never be solved in my head. That's fine. And that you're mentioning that it's probably the locals. That's something that it does worry me about the show. Is I don't trust it to be as careful as it necessarily needs to be when discussing race. I do not believe that show has the care that it's gonna need, not to just be like, it's these guys here who have the regional accents. Do you know what I mean?
See,
I feel like they're othered because of it.
What I think it's trying to do is it'll turn out to be like one of the other people on the holiday.
Yeah.
Like either her love interest or the old cunt guy. Whose name escapes me, but old cunt guy will do.
That's what he's actually in the cast list as on IMDb. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm like, yeah. But the trouble is, I'm already instinctively just like, I don't think it was the people that everyone thinks it was, because one, you can't pretend to be like a sort of mystery thing if it's really obvious at the beginning of the show who did it.
That it's funny you say that. It's something we'll come back to in a later episode this year, because there is something that we're going to watch that starts with that exact premise of it's a mystery, but you know how it happened. Yeah, so we'll come back to that, and in a demonstration of how you actually fucking do that.
Well, it's a mystery to me. I'll read some synopsises and work out which one it is. I think it's beef, instinctively.
Okay, I'm not going to confirm or deny.
Oh, it could be Fall of the House of
Faladaharabahara.
The Mike Flanagan thing with a lot of words in the title.
Haunting a Hill House.
Yeah, that'll do. Midnight Mass. Oh, that's not a lot of words.
Let me tell you, there's characters who say a lot of words one at a time in that show. That's why I love it. Yeah. Say next.
And the racism.
Yes. God, I've forgotten about that bit. Which means...
It's how you sold me on the whole show. I feel like there's one character, she says some stuff, you're really going to hate her.
Yeah. This just means I'm due a rewatch, I think. I haven't watched it in about 4 months, so I should probably watch it again.
I have forgotten a single scene. Therefore, it's time for a rewatch. That's why you forget lots of other stuff. It's because your brain is full of the entire script of Breaking Bad. Oh, Midnight Mass.
I'll tell you something that I have taken away from Saint X, and that is the volleyball game is going to start in 5 minutes. Because that is repeated about 100 times in that scene where the guy's running around, rounding them all up. And it just really started to annoy me. Just something I took away from the show. Is that, okay, volleyball game starts in 5 minutes. Thanks very much. You don't remember that bit, do you?
No. Because I was trying to work out why I give a shit about volleyball.
They all took that really seriously as well. I don't know if you remember anything about that scene. There's
that's because that's why he calls her a cunt later on. But like, it's so out of proportion. Because she calls his shot out.
Yeah.
When I don't know the rules of volleyball, but I guess on the line is in.
But it was framed in a strange way because it was going from left to right, and it looks like it's left of the line, the boundary line that we're shown. And I took that to mean, oh, that's definitely in then. And they all went, yep, no, out. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think so. What's her face? Dead Girl. I didn't really see much of a point in learning their names. Well, at this point, she's not Dead Girl. She's soon to be Dead Girl.
Yeah. Alive Girl, you could say.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to confuse things too much by giving them two names each. She is playing volleyball, so calls it out, but I think she's doing it because she likes the locals, because she's not a cunt.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh, I'm gonna wait until it's really late and then just walk past her and call her a cunt for no obvious reason.
It really does stand out as an odd thing, doesn't it? But then I wonder if
it is a weird thing to hear in an American show.
Yeah.
That's set in
on Disney Plus, no less.
Well, it's a Hulu show, really. Disney Plus do make good telly, so I'm not going to smear them with this brush. Just the empirical brush that they tar themselves with. Monopoly, what? But I think I spent a lot of it trying to work out where I recognised the mum from, and I was like, oh, it's Marie. She's
not obsessed with purple anymore.
No, just obsessed with pretending that she's only ever had one kid from the sounds of it later on in her life. But yeah, I just couldn't give a shit about any of the actual characters.
No, me neither. Yeah, no, I don't care about this lot.
The thing the one thing that I did find interesting, because it's something that I've never seen in anything before, was the rather than speaking, like writing on her arm. I was like,
I've not seen it before either.
I was like, that's an interesting thing that I wish was being explored by a better show.
Yeah, I think it's based on a novel. I think I read somewhere, and I imagine it might be the case that the novel's just way better. I mean, that's kind of always... Speaking of which, I do have a book recommendation for you. I've not read it, I've just heard about it, and I thought, oh, Rich is going to fucking love that. So I'll send you a link to that in a second.
Or just tell me now.
I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, I see, that is a problem.
I think it's called Survivor, and it's by Chuck Palahniuk, who's the guy who wrote Fight Club. Basically, I think the idea is this guy, he hijacks a plane, and then what you're reading is his sort of recounting of why he's done this into the plane's black box, and it turns out that he is the he's escaped a cult of some kind.
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, I figured you'd be quite
Yeah.
interested. So yeah, I got the Audible thing, but yeah, I'll send you a link over to it a bit later. Yeah, just disposable. I'm not going to remember this one. It's just not going to stay in my head in the same way that the other sort of mediocre thrillers just don't stay in my head. This one is absolutely going to fall out very shortly, and I imagine it's literally going to be a case of give it a week. I probably won't remember this. So
I'm actually surprised that you remember it later on in the same day.
well, yeah. To be fair, I've surprised myself with my my knowledge. My memory is genuinely terrible. So I am trying to do something to combat that. I do have a diary now, so
Oh,
that's exciting.
it got Saint X season 1 got 2 out of 5 Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's not done well. It's not done well at all. But I do have slightly more hope for The Clearing.
If you, I'll tell you afterwards, but I now know how Saint X ends.
I mean, go for it. It
Oh,
was all a dream. The island wasn't real.
No, so as I've learned, dead girl, her name is Alison, went skimmy dipping, climbed up a rock to look at a waterfall, tripped and fell.
Are you kidding?
That's it. I said earlier, I guessed misadventure at the beginning
Yeah, that's
beginning
true.
of this. Like, it's too obviously set up for people to just be wildly racist.
Wow. What fun. Oh well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm glad I didn't watch it, and I'm glad I accidentally stumbled across that and just went, "Oh, that would have been a disappointing finish."
Well, that's 8 hours saved.
No, it's only 7 hours saved because we did have to sit through the first one.
Oh, okay, fair. Yeah.
Anyway, cult stuff.
Yeah. What was your thought? So The Clearing. Let's start this then. Very, very strange little show. This very strange, dark little show.
Yeah. I instinctively was a little bit like, "Ooh, I wish they'd be a bit clearer when," because it took me a minute to realise the time separation,
Yeah.
but I sort of knew that it had some time stuff in it because it's in like a synopsis somewhere that like it's
It jumps about a bit.
yeah. But what I didn't realise is that it was jumping between. It took me a minute to sort of get the feel of how they're doing the jumps, and it's like, oh, it's all following one person, older and younger, easy peasy. Once you see it,
Yeah. Australian, which is nice. We don't have many Australian shows on here. I think the last. I was about to say, that's not actually. What was the prison drama we did? Was it Wellington something? So actually, that was New Zealand, right? What was that? prison drama
Cell Block
we
H.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Australian.
That was it. Oh, okay. That's the only other one that I can remember. Like I was actually watching as like an Australian show. This one is about, at the very start. We see.
Oh, it's Wentworth. That's the Australian
Wentworth. That was it.
one. That was in 2016. I'm surprised you remember.
I
don't
remember
know,
really
anything.
enjoying that as well. Yeah, that was the first year of us doing this, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was, I think, the last episode we recorded that year.
There was one after it.
Oh,
Walking
there
Dead
was one
and
after that.
Revolution. Yeah,
Our Revolution was good as well.
Revolution was good. It was kind of like Fallout, but Fallout 4 before Fallout 4 came out.
It was so, yeah, it was kind of like Walking Dead meets Fallout.
I guess that's why we paired it with Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see a young girl getting kidnapped at the very start by. It's quite clearly it's a group of people and it's an organised thing. They've clearly gone out with the express purpose of finding a girl to kidnap.
What I quite like is instinctively, like without knowing that this show has like a cult thing in it, which I did going in because cults are cool. Don't join any, but they are good to read about.
There must be benevolent cults. Anyway, we'll come on to that.
Well, yeah, they're called religions. So I knew there was cult stuff going in, but it was so nice to see that the visual language of it was just like, these are the cult people, look at their haircuts. They're all the same, they match.
Yeah, they've literally come out from.
Aren't
Village
they
of the Damned.
easy to identify? which I think becomes a point later on that they're like,
Yeah.
well, we can't release it because we dyed our hair blonde. Ugh.
If you search for Village of the Damned, it's that exact haircut and the exact hair colour. It's fucking terrifying that they've gone for. I found this, like, I feel like this show's got a level of not quite nastiness to it, but it has the potential of becoming quite nasty as it goes on. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this tilted into, okay, you're going to see some really horrible shit now.
Well, that's the thing, that what I think through the whole thing, because obviously you see young and old Amy, although she's Freya in present time, but they all have cute little names that start with A. So you see her in both time periods, and yet I assumed that we were seeing young girl escaped, but no, we see old girl who kidnapped her, which I think is an interesting point to take, is that to point out that, like, well, it's not always the the one who's just been kidnapped who escapes. Sometimes, but I get it's not actually clear that she escapes. And that's what I quite like, is that I have more questions than they answered in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I also quite enjoyed how sort of just chaotic it felt. Like her, when she's running around always, like, checking to make sure her kid's still there. Because she used to kidnap children, so she's paranoid for some reason. Like, those scenes are really, like, you can almost not just see, but you can sort of feel the, like, that her mind's just moving a bit too fast and she's, like, over processing.
Yeah, you 100%, like, it's one of the few times when a show convinces you of its convictions. Like, I was fully prepared for that to be the moment where she discovered that her son's been kidnapped, and as it turns out, he hasn't been, but I did buy into it, and I think that speaks quite a lot of the show in the microcosm in the... And
it quite, because it wasn't just once either. I think every time they did it, I was like, yeah, it's this time, like, that's the story here. Her kid gets kidnapped because she kidnapped kids.
Yeah.
That's almost a tongue twister.
She kidnaps kids while the kids nap. While the kids are napping, she kidnaps the kids.
And I think I wasn't really expecting to, one, see old Eowyn, but then also, like, for her to still be in an escapee's life afterwards, which makes me think she didn't escape, it's just kind of sort of died down, which means the middle bit of the story should be really interesting.
Yeah, like, because are they still looking for her, or, you know?
Yeah, or how did all the other girls escape, or did... Yeah, I'm intrigued by it.
So what do you anticipate is going to be the story? Because at the end you see that she's caring for Mummy, so the leader of the cult. She is now responsible for the care of her. What do you anticipate that being? Do you think that's a revenge thing of, like, right, you held me against my will, now it's your turn?
I think it could be, or it could be not in a sinister way, but in a way that she's never truly escaped.
Yeah.
It could turn out that maybe the cult compound, while in the early days it's a small, just in this house thing, but it's grown into, like, a town. But they don't have to do the hair anymore because it's a bit suspicious for tourists.
Oh, I see. So
and then
I think still it ends.
Yeah, I think it ends with her force feeding her bad stew.
The bad stew.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I really am intrigued. I do wonder if it's a little bit dark for
Your current frame of
me
mind.
at the minute. Yeah, because like that's I do. I do want to watch it. I'm struggling to see a point where I'm going to be able to carry on watching the series.
What I'll
where
do is, right,
Lise doesn't look over and be like, "Oh, what's happened? What's happening to that kid?" Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. What I'll do is I will bite this bullet for you, and I will watch the rest of this show and tell you if it's, because it could turn out to be it's just a story about how a cult gets blown up.
Well, I mean, I figured you probably would carry on and watch it anyway. So.
Yeah. Apparently, there is also a book for
Yes.
this one as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you could get away with sneakily reading the book. Or listening to the book.
I wonder if it is like exactly the same. It must be slightly different. It's based on, what's it based on?
It's a book called In the Clearing, I think.
In the Clearing. By J.P. Pomeroy or Pomare. Yeah.
Apparently the
I
people
really
this
like
is based on is like
an actual cult.
an actual thing.
I really like cult stuff.
Same.
Because they terrify me. Because there is nothing more scary than a person that you can't reason with, other than a big group of people that you can't reason with.
I think it's the idea that there are people who are so charismatic that they can convince you that what they're telling you is
Yeah.
truth.
I have often wondered, like, how do you convert the second person? Because it's fair enough if you go right. There's definitely like UFO things, and I'm going to start a cult based on this. That's an easy sell. Selling it to the next person is the hardest bit, because after that there's two of you, so you know, and then it just becomes easier and easier. How the fuck do you do the first one?
Well, no, see, that's the trick. You start with the little stuff. You don't start with like, the UFOs are coming, we've got to drink the Kool-Aid. You start with, have you ever thought about aliens? And then you get a big group of people who all sit around and talk about aliens, and then you're like, hey guys, how do you feel about Kool-Aid? And then you just build up from there, and then you're like, we should have a compound and get raided by the FBI. Like, that's the sort of escalation.
Just in those three questions, that's how you do it, isn't it? Those three.
The compound thing's not a question. The compound thing is, fuck you guys, we're a cult now, we're getting a compound.
We're a cult now.
But that's it. I think, to a degree, they never truly believe themselves cults.
Maybe
But-
that's it. Oh, maybe that's it. In the language of, oh no, we're not a cult, we're a family. Like, I'm thinking about Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that, arguably, that's the thing. It is hard to differentiate because generally, cults have a religion-y thing going on.
Yeah. In fairness, like, if the Westboro Baptist Church did drink the Kool-Aid, that's probably the best result for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, unless they're right.
There is, yeah. Jim Jeffries has got that joke where he goes like, you know, Fred Phelps dies, he goes up to heaven, and God looks at him, puts a hand on his shoulder, and goes, yeah, "You're the only one that got me, man."
And that's the thing. And that's terrifying. And that's why I can't believe in God. That and, you know, science.
But yeah.
The thing, so this,
I enjoyed this a lot more than I was anticipating it. Based on Saint X, I was like, oh god, this better be decent. And do you know what? I was like, fucking hell, this is pretty good. Actually, I really enjoyed it.
yeah, I think it has that small barrier to entry of being like you have to pay enough attention to realise that it's taking place in two different times. And it's not immediately clear. But once you get past that, and then you get the reveal of who's who, which we spoiled.
Yeah.
But apart from that, like, once you get all of those things, golden.
Yeah, I think it's a really good little twist of the, like, just a refocusing of the lens where it just goes, you think you're watching this one, actually, it's the other one you're watching. That I thought was a really smart move.
Yeah, and it led me to, I was having a look at like other things that Eowyn's done since Lord of the Rings. I'm sure.
Sabrina. which we've done, I think.
Yeah, but apparently once she'd finished, I think it was once she had her baby, she was just like, I want to do more Australian stuff, so just did more Australian stuff.
No, fucking fair play.
Yeah,
I might
I really
get the
enjoyed
book
this.
of this as well. Actually, it's only like £3 on Kindle. I might get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was gonna. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it's always good when there's, if there is a shitter, to have the B-side be significantly better.
The next one we've got. So the next episode we're doing, we are actually watching a show that I've wanted to watch for a long time, and I've heard Stephen King saying good things about it. And generally speaking, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to like recommending good scary shit. So we're gonna do From and Invasion, which I don't actually know what that show is.
Neither do I. I'm assuming it's similar to From, which I also know nothing about.
It's an Apple TV show. We'll have to get the free episode 1 for that, which is actually really handy for this show.
It is.
We've just suddenly gone, we can do Apple shows for free. It's great.
I'm not entirely sure how we designed a format entirely around generally being able to watch stuff for free. I say free. I do pay for a lot of streaming services.
Yeah. And if we can't find it anywhere else, just I'll pay for the episode. It's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Once they made it easier to pay for stuff rather than steal it, that's when the real money starts rolling in.
Yeah, that's the trick. Make it
And
easy.
we started earning like adult money rather than student money.
That is true. That also does help quite a lot.
So yeah, From Invasion, or Invasion From, as you've titled it in the document. That's our next episode. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that one. I really can't wait to watch From. So
I'm assuming. Have you looked up what they are? Because I would like to know roughly what they are.
I don't really know too much about From. It looks like a spooky rural cop thing, as far as I
Ooh.
can tell. Invasion. I mean, I haven't looked it up. Other than
I mean, I
the
guess
fact
it was
on
an
Apple.
invasion.
I figure, and to be honest, Invasion. They kind of. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an alien thing, because Invasion of the Body Snatchers and they're
Yeah.
aliens. So yeah,
Invasion does feel more like aliens than Germans.
Fuck's sake.
Well, it's always Germans or aliens.